Hello there. Thank you so much for joining us. This is News Channel Nebraska. My name's Eric McKay. Let's take a look at our top headlines today. Beginning at the grocery store, where if you buy products labeled Made in China, today's trade news might apply to your shopping cart. Tariff rates on those goods staying the same for now, despite a deadline that was set for today. Amy Kiley has the latest.
They've been dealing quite nicely. The relationship is very good with President Xi and myself.
The U.S. and China are pushing back today's self-imposed deadline for reaching a trade deal. They say current tariff amounts can remain in place another 90 days as negotiations continue. An executive order President Donald Trump issued last night keeps the U.S. rate for Chinese imports at 30%. That's opposed to letting it rise to 54% as specified in a previous order. China confirms its duties on U.S. imports will stay at 10% instead of climbing to 34%.
With the tariffs going up and down, our prices go up and down.
Many U.S. businesses say tariffs on Chinese goods apply to numerous products they sell to consumers. That's because China is America's second largest source of imports.
At the end of the day, there's only a couple things that can happen. Either the companies make less money or the prices go up for the consumers. And we all know what companies are going to choose.
Meanwhile, Trump says he's allowing the Chinese to buy certain American-made semiconductor chips. He says the U.S. government will get 15% of related revenue.
Taxing a specific company to have the right granted by the government to ship product to a specific country. That, for lack of better words, is a little funky chicken. But at the same time, it's a form of tariffs.
Amy Kiley reporting, News Channel Nebraska.
Meanwhile, a mixed bag of inflation news released by the federal government on Tuesday. Core prices, which don't take into account the more volatile aspects of the economy like groceries and gas, were up 3.1% from last year. That was a jump of 0.2% from last month. But food and fuel prices were down in July, and that helped the overall consumer price gauge hold steady from last month at a 2.7% increase from last year. That's still above the Federal Reserve's 2% target, though. The Fed's report today shows that for now, slowing rent increases and cheaper gas have offset some of the impacts of the Trump administration's tariff policies. Closer to home, the Hastings City Council spending some money in the hopes of retaining members of a fire department that says they're hanging on by a thread. The Hastings City Council Monday approved $92,000 worth of retention bonuses for members of the Hastings Fire Department. That follows a letter sent by Hastings Fire to the city last week saying the department's been under 90% staffing for nearly a year. They say that's caused burnout, physical and mental strain, significant overtime, and low morale. Department leaders told the City Council Monday some individuals are working multiple 24-hour shifts in a row without leaving the fire station.
Our normal schedule for our line personnel is 24 hours on, 48 hours off. We have a large number of people right now working 48 and having 24 hours off. And it's to the point where it's affecting mental health, it's affecting things in the station. They're just worn out.
Border Stress said the department's seen a 19% turnover rate because of the ongoing stress. Now, the money for the bonuses will come from allocated payroll money that's left over because of the unfilled positions. Norfolk Public Schools has started the search for the new superintendent, and they're encouraging the public to participate in the process. The district has engaged with multiple search firms, among them the Nebraska Association of School Boards and McPherson and Jacobson. Both of those firms will be interviewing with the school board at their second meeting later this month. Then the board will make their official choice as to who will lead the superintendent search in September. In the interim, the district being led by Bill McAllister of West Point, the district's previous superintendent, Jamie Jo Thompson, now leading a school district in Rapid City, South Dakota. In southeast Nebraska, Beatrice's school board acting on additions to technology while also purchasing a useful piece of machinery ahead in the new school year. Last night, the school board voted unanimously to approve purchases of new laptops and Chromebooks, as well as the purchase of a new side-by-side utility terrain vehicle. Superintendent Jason Alexander says the purchases for the laptops already fit in this year's budget.
It made sense to try and do some of those this year, given where our budget authority is and our budget situation. So we did decide to do 20 of those and get those 20 out of the way, because there's probably that many again next year that need to be taken care of.
In addition to the 20 laptops, 15 Chromebooks will be purchased for student use. The 35 pieces of technology cost just shy of $30,000. This is Beatrice's first day of school for all students is Wednesday. Well, in an effort to confront the past, the Genoa Foundation hosting a recognition and remembrance day, urging the public to remember what was endured by thousands of students at Genoa's U.S. Indian School. Hanky Hazelton has more.
A time to gather and known as a Recognition and Remembrance Day was held and hosted by the Genoa U.S. Indian School Foundation. In their 35th annual event, it's an opportunity for Nebraskans to learn about their 50 years of complicated history.
Students were forced to come here, and a lot of them experienced trauma, and that historical trauma was passed down to relatives. We do have some students that had good experiences here, and so we hope that more Nebraskans recognize this happened.
The Genoa Indian Industrial School in Nebraska opened in 1884 and aimed to assimilate Native American children from over 40 tribes into American society. Over its 50 years of operation, the school grew to house nearly 600 students on a 640-acre campus, making it an unpleasant arrival for the students.
Many of the students arrived either by a cattle car or train or on the back of trucks, like used to haul animals. And so from there, when they got here, they had their hair cut, they were showered. Some of them had kerosene put on their heads to kill lice, and then they were all given uniforms.
Through indications of neglect and abuse, researchers have uncovered at least 90 students who were found to have died while attending Genoa. And to preserve their memory, the foundation brought in a spiritual guide roadman to perform its first ever cedar ceremony.
Something tragic happens and they pass, well, then we put this wapigli out, spiritual food. We'll burn some cedar and fan off the food and the relatives. It's a comforting aroma, a comforting blessing.
Drew says, although it was a difficult time for some to reflect on, it's important to tell their story and to shine a light on Indigenous activists and advocates who want to bring this history to the surface. In Genoa, Hanky Hazelton, News Channel, Nebraska.
The Nebraska-Vietnam Veterans Reunion meeting for one final time this week in Kearney. The 40th and final reunion taking place marks the end of an era for one of the state's longest-running veteran traditions. The four-day event begins Thursday with activities like a golf tournament, concerts, fellowship opportunities, and a ladies' luncheon focused on caregiving and support. Organizers say the decision to wrap up the annual event basically comes down to logistics.
We're inviting people from all over Nebraska, from the east to west, north to south. They're all coming to Kearney because we're in our 70s and 80s, and we want to end on a high note. We want a great reunion, and we want to have everything that we've had in 40 years for this final one.
More than 500 veterans and family members expected to attend. Organizers say they made a special effort this year to reach veterans who've never attended the reunion before. The event wraps up with a sunrise ceremony on Sunday where Gold Star families will honor their loved ones. Members of the reunion committee, meanwhile, placed 400 flags on the grounds of the old Midtown Western Inn in Kearney as a tribute to those who made the ultimate sacrifice during the Vietnam War. News Channel Nebraska will also be paying homage to the fallen soldiers who were from Nebraska throughout this week. And finally, a new ice cream shop opened this month in Fairbury. It brings together multiple generations of family with deep connections to the city's restaurant history. Tim Hackett has the cold truth and the warm story behind this new shop.
After working with each other at a restaurant in town for parts of the last 9 years, this month Rod Shanerock and his stepdaughter Jaden are celebrating the start of a new enterprise that's entirely their own, J&R's Cones and Coffee. Shane Rock's career in Fairbury's food service industry stretches back 5 decades, back to when he worked at and ultimately owned the Fairbury A&W with his mother in the 1970s and 80s. Now he's realizing his dream of running his own ice cream shop with his own family alongside.
And of all the businesses that I've done, the A&W is probably the most fun. It seems like people are never unhappy when they're having ice cream. And I wanted to have a place where people could sit down and come in and enjoy themselves.
Rod and Jaden had worked together for the better part of 9 years at his most recent venture, Rowdy's Steakhouse, a few blocks away on the other side of Fairbury's downtown. He stepped away from Rowdy's last winter, but soon Rod felt a pull to get back into the fields. He had wanted to start up his own ice cream shop for a while, and he knew he'd need a partner, and he knew just who to contact.
When I see people come in and they compliment the building and they say it's really nice, it's a nice atmosphere, it makes them feel good to be in here, everything's so pretty, that's what makes me happy. That's my goal, is just to make everybody happy, feel comfortable, and it's definitely a place that I feel like brings good vibes, good energy.
J&R's first official day of operation was last Tuesday, and the Cold Treat Shop has gotten off to a hot start. Things have gone so well that Sunday night, the end of their first week, they were running low on a lot of their flavors. But regardless of how much ice cream they sell, the pair say their goals are to provide a friendly experience for their customers and a prime training ground for this family and their employees well into the future.
The goal is to eventually for Jaden to take it over. I wanted to get it started and get it established for her, and something for her to maybe pass on to her daughter at some point. That's what it's all about.
In Fairbury, Tim Hackett, News Channel, Nebraska.
And you can stay up to date with the very latest by following us online. Head to newschannelnebraska.com. Click on the News tab there. You can also follow us on X, like us on Facebook and Instagram as well. Thanks for joining us. Have a great day. This is News Channel Nebraska.